In a previous video that dealt with one of God's celestial patterns, we discussed a pattern between Iran and Sagittarius. Now, this particular video came out 9 months ago. However, last night, while in prayer, God spoke a specific date of 11/19 and to look at the constellation of Sagittarius. Turning to a screenshot from Stellarium yield this profound and certainly supernatural by design realization. You see, the location of Venus in Sagittarius is exactly what the previous video was about. And we are going to discuss why the next few days to expect breaking news coming out of Iran. However, within today's video, we are actually going to see that these two stars specifically of Sagittarius, this one right here and that one right there, play a role within this pattern. Because the timing of events with Iran is always when a celestial object is in between these two stars. Saints, this is like some real God precision type stuff. Saints, you won't believe how profound this celestial timing is until we recap parts of that previous video. Now, this is an impromptu video, so we're going to keep it short and to the point. Let me turn to this slide from that previous video. What you are looking at is a profound supernatural by design pattern demonstrating that the government stemming from the Iranian Revolution to the first two supreme leaders of Iran all have a connection with Sagittarius, and two of which, of these three, Venus in Sagittarius. Now, let's take a look at the first column. Okay, so on February 11th, 1979 is when the monarchy fell and the new Iran government, more of like an interim government till they finalized it, would begin. Well, if we zoom in on that, Venus is right here, again, in between this star and that star. All right, perfect, come back. All right, so about 10 months later, on 12/3 is when Khamenei, the first supreme leader, would assume office. Now, what's really fascinating, if we zoom in here, is that this would be literally one whole Venus cycle going all the way around, beginning just 10 months earlier, marking our first date, and coming back into Sagittarius, again between this star and that star on 12/3/1979, marking the supreme leader, the first one, coming to power with an official government. All right, now come back. Now, after he passed, the next guy, the guy who we have right now, on 8/6/1989 is when he came into power. Now, let's zoom in. Now, this one is interesting because it's not Venus, but it is Saturn, and it's in conjunction with Neptune. But also look here, it's in between this star and that star. Isn't that interesting? Absolutely. So now, coming back to our 11/19/2024, do you see now why this is supernatural by design? Venus is in between this star and that star. Now, remember, God told me to look at this date and to look at Sagittarius. And so here's what I'm ultimately trying to say. If the other previous patterns were tied to the government and the supreme leaders, who ultimately have the final say, I know they have a president, that's really more of a show. It's the supreme leader that's really the leader of the country. But nonetheless, expect news to come out about the government or about the supreme leader, I don't know, something on the 19th. And let's remember God's accuracy on this here. It's in between this star and that star. And when we compare it against these other three, it's very, very, very close to being identical. I guess for all intents and purposes, it could be the 19th over there in the Middle East and the 18th here. So if we look at the 18th, Venus would lean a little bit closer to the first star. You see that here? Okay, now when we take that and we compare it against the other three, it's a lot closer. So either the 18th, which is the 19th over there, or it's the 19th from our location in America. Well, at least my location in America. But expect news to come out here very shortly. Now, here's what's crazy, is that I genuinely thought I at least had till the 19th to get this video out. It actually was a bigger production. We're going to add a whole bunch of other celestial signs. However, a subscriber shared with me some news that has broken recently that state that the supreme leader is in a coma. Like as you see from this article from Times Now World. Iran Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei in coma after serious illness, ? Fact-checking claim. It states, social media posts on Saturday claimed Iran Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, 85, is in a coma following an earlier New York Times report stating that he's seriously ill. However, no official confirmation has been provided regarding his health deterioration. Ali Khamenei was last seen in public on November 7th. But nonetheless, I know Amir Sephardi is reporting on this topic as well. In fact, the subscribers shared with me one of their Telegram posts. Now, Amir is stating that Khamenei has passed. However, again, I don't expect this news to break until the 19th, or at least be confirmed by the Iranian government. But whether in a coma indefinitely, or he actually has passed, what's important to note is that God's celestial signs are highlighting some sort of change within the top leadership of the Iranian government. But moreover, this post from Amir, plus this news article, confirmed that God was like, hey, you need to get this video out a lot sooner than the 19th. And so hence why we have this impromptu video. So moreover, whether it's 11/19 Iran or 11/19 here, watch that date. And I don't want to pigeonhole myself into a box here. So even just from a 5,000-foot view, something significant with Iran will take place on the 19th. Israel attacks Iran, or Iran attacks Israel. Something. All right, with that said, saints, I had to bring you this revelation/confirmation that some sort of governmental mix-up is getting ready to take place within their top leadership, involving Iran and the constellation of Sagittarius and God's profound patterns in his celestial signs. They're absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Supernatural by design. You know that. I know that. Everyone should know that. Now, it should be worth noting that no matter what happens, this does not change the Esther celestial pattern. And I'll discuss this further in a future video. However, just for example, one reason why we know that the Esther celestial pattern is still going down is because the first total lunar eclipse since 2022 comes up in 2025, marking the Feast of Purim. So moreover, it does not change that. But nonetheless, that's all I have to say with regards to today's impromptu video. Now check this out. I have a novel idea. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Let me know in the comments. But here, I'm just going to tag on that Iran Sagittarius video. Well, at least the last 5 minutes of it. So if you want to keep watching, definitely do so. But here is that previous video. And definitely watch the conclusion part of it if you so choose to watch this video. Because it makes sense why the Holy Spirit said what he said and told me to say at the end of that video, as we're discussing 11/19 for this year. It will all make sense now. Nonetheless, here's that video. I love y'all and God bless. And so, as you can see, saints, there is a consistency here that God is using with celestial signs whenever they occur in Sagittarius being linked to Iran. Whether we're talking about the 3 founding examples or the 3 modern examples, all of them carry the same theme, Iran. But I also want us to be sensitive to the fact, and that I've learned alongside with you, is that God's celestial signs is a language. It's a language of its own. It's fascinating. In fact, it's supernatural by design. But taking a step back and kind of switching tracks a little bit, and then turning to this slide, which is a new main slide that I'm going to be using for upcoming videos, entitled Road to the Rapture. But nonetheless, it outlines the 2 patterns that the Holy Spirit has been revealing. There's an Esther pattern marking the rapture, and there's a World War III pattern marking the rapture as well. And Iran fits into our Esther part as well as our World War III part, as one of the patterns consists of the typology of Esther, a template, as she has a 7-day wedding feast, which is very much tied to the rapture, which you find that in Esther chapter 2, verses 16 through 18, Secondly, that there's a celestial component to it, reflected in the Revelation 12 sign. But moreover, the story of Esther is one of the ways that we can understand the timing of the rapture. The second way is tied to World War III, the details on the ground at the timing of the rapture. As Jesus even tells us in Matthew chapter 24, verses 7 through 9, that kingdom against kingdom and nation against nation is the start of birth pains, but also leading into the tribulational period, aka Daniel's 70th week. However, it's the main point that he ties it to World War III, hence why Paul even uses the analogy of birth pains as well, but tying it to sudden destruction. And so really the strategy for understanding the timing of the rapture through this angle, again, is the details on the ground at the moment of the rapture, which is reflected in the tension in geopolitics. And like as the Holy Spirit always tells me, if you want to know how close we are to the rapture, watch the news. But we also have a celestial pattern tied to war in this lane as well. Now, I say all this because our topic today for this video, Iran and Sagittarius, really falls in both camps, right? Because we have Iran, who's tied to Haman, who's tied to Esther. But then as you can see, a lot of the events connected to the celestial signs in Sagittarius are thematically related to war. And so for all intents and purposes, there's a little bit of an overlap here, which shouldn't be a surprise. Why? Because both themes of Esther and World War III is the road to the rapture. And so there should be a convergence. Okay, now with all that being said, let's go ahead and discuss the bow of Elam and where we find it in the Bible, and then our conclusion section for this video. And so, turning to Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 35, it states this: "This is what the Lord of armies says. Behold, I am going to break the bow of Elam, the finest of their might." And what is fascinating about this verse is that Elam, or Persia, or Iran, whatever you want to call them, it's the same region, but historically, and even into current times, their missiles are top-notch. They're extremely accurate. They are the finest of their arsenal. And so it's interesting to see how history repeats itself. And with that being said, let's go ahead and move into our conclusion and finish out this video. Now, I was going to throw out some dates out there, looking at further conjunctions coming up, take a look at the new moon, where it lands at, but I'm being told by the Holy Spirit to wait. And so that's what I'm going to do, because it will make more sense when the next big event takes place, what the connection is. And to that point, where we're going to end this video. But until next time, or the rapture, we'll talk soon. I love y'all. God bless. And Maranatha, King Jesus.